Hello everyone, Trophy Wine Hunter. Welcome back to my wine channel. Today I'm filming from the JW Marriott in Singapore and I'm reviewing the 1999 Chateau du Tetre. So I chose to do this video because this is what I could find in Singapore. I was drinking with a subscriber and didn't bring any wine, so I thought I'd just buy wine. This wine was bought at 1855 Wine Shop, and I think it was $120 Singaporean, which is 1-to-1 to Canadian. Pretty good price for a 99 vintage. And so thought I'd pick it up. So Chateau du Tetre is named after the soil, du Tetre. And it's a fifth growth wine from the Margaux region, and it's got one of the longest histories dating back to 1143. So a couple of interesting historical facts about du Tetre. One is in the 1700s, it was owned by a person called Pierre Michel. And Pierre Michel is the person that actually created the big bottles Jeroboam. So he's known, he was a glass blower. The second thing is that it used to be called Le Tetre, but for some reason it was changed during the ownership to Du Tetre. It's one of these wineries that's changed hands a lot, but it's about 56 hectares, and the interesting thing is even though it's changed ownership, the actual lands has not changed at all. So the same vineyard that they have right now, the same 56 hectares, was what they had when they were classified in 1855. So it has had quite a bit of instability in terms of ownership. And so let's just start in the modern history. 1961, it was purchased by Pierre Gascoigne, and he at one time also owned Talon-Ségur. In 1995, it was sold to Eric and Louise Albada Gelgeresme. Mesma. I'm sorry, I'm going to murder the name here, but I'll have it in the comment section. And they brought in a winemaker called Alexander Van Beek to kind of manage the estate. And one of the first things he did was to make sure that they actually manually harvested instead of by hand, or instead of by machine. In 2021, it was sold again to the Helfrich family, who have ownership in the San Emilion region. So we'll see again. Despite all these changes, I think it still produces a decent wine, but it doesn't help the winery to continue to have instability in terms of ownership, because they have a change in direction every time you have a new owner. There are 54 hectares that are planted, 43% Cabernet Sauvignon, 33% Merlot, 90% Cabernet Franc, and 5% Petit Verdot. They are going by biodynamic, but they're a little bit behind other wineries. I think a majority of their wine vineyards are biodynamic. They're getting there, but most other vineyards are already there. So I think they're a little bit behind the ball, and with the ownership changes, I think they're going to need a couple of years to just kind of figure out what they're doing. So I don't expect spectacular things from du Tetre, but you know, if it's reasonably priced, it's an interesting drinking wine. On average, the wines spend 18 months in oak, 50% in new oak. The 1999 vintage of Chateau du Tetre was a blend of 60% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30% Merlot, and 10% Cabernet Franc. I don't think it's scored very high. I'll have the rating in the comment section. I think Wine Spectator scored at 87 points. I've seen some at 85 points. I actually really like the 1999 vintage. It's actually not that expensive a vintage, and I think it drinks really well. I mean, it's not a vintage that collectors like because you can't really make money on it, storing it long term, and I don't think it's going to last 50 years. But right now, I think through that 1999 is drinking very nicely. So I did a review of the wine that night. I really enjoyed it. I had it with my subscriber, and I thought it was quite good. We're tasting it again today, and I'm on the patio on the 18th floor of JW Marriott. There's an infinity view here. You gotta check out this hotel. It's quite hip and quite fun, but it's really hard to drink in Singapore because it's so hot. It's kind of, today's a little bit cooler at 28 degrees, so it's really hard to keep bottles at the right temperature. I just took this out of the fridge in my room, so it's still a little bit colder, but it really kind of, it's very tough, I think, for drinkers in Singapore to get the right temperature, because room temperature in a restaurant is way too hot and making wines quite flat. So here's the label. I don't have the cork anymore, but it's the Grand Cru Class A wine, Chateau de Tetra, 1999 Margaux, and a little bit of information in the back, but it's in French. Here's the color of the wine. Again, I think it was better. It shows quite a bit of brownness here, but I think it was slightly better color when I opened it 2 nights ago. So I think it has oxidized, and again, I feel for Singaporean drinkers because with the weather, it's really tough to get the right temperature and the right, just when it starts to open, especially in 28, 29 degree weather, it oxidizes fairly quickly. I'm here at Akira Black Restaurant, drinking with a subscriber in Singapore. It's been a wonderful night, and we're drinking the 1999 Chateau de Tetra from the Margaux region. We've had it open about 2.5 hours now. Wonderful food. We really enjoyed it with some steak and some black cod, which is kind of an unusual pairing, but the miso sauce and the black cod was really excellent with the pairing. So on the aroma, classic Margaux, very floral. I smell violets, a little bit of black plums, really full. It's really lovely. Lots of fruit, very youthful still. Wow, taste is excellent. A lot of fruit, black currants. I taste black cherries. I taste plums. The taste, the aftertaste is a little bit slightly short. Not a lot of tannins. So I think this wine maybe will hold on for the next 5 years. I think it's drinking perfectly right now. We haven't decanted this wine. So my rating of this wine is 92 points. I think you need to drink within the next 5 years, but it's lovely. Pop and open, you could decant it very slightly, but it's a very good representation of the Margaux region and an excellent representation of 1999 vintage. So let's taste the wine. I will let you know that I've had it open now for 2 days, and I put it in my fridge now. Just took it back out probably about an hour ago or 30 minutes ago. When we drank in the restaurant, we did not decant it, knowing that I would probably try to retaste it again. So let's see how it's tasting right now. I'll tell you on the color, there is some oxidation already. I can tell right away. It was a nicer color, I think, on that night. A slight bit of oxidation already. On the aroma, it's still giving me some really nice floral components. I would say not like, maybe some sweetness, almost like some honeysuckle. I smell violets and lilacs. Almost like a slight carnation, or not really roses, but it is a sweet floral smell. And that was kind of consistent with what I smelled that night also. It's funny because it's rounded off. On the night that I drank it, it's now coming back a little bit, but it was very green and herbaceous at the end and the aftertaste. It's not so much today. Could be because it's a slightly chilled. You can see the glass is a little bit more chilled. It's just, again, I find it very difficult to get the right temperature in Singapore of wines. But this is slightly colder than room temperature because I just took it out of the fridge. So that could be it. But it's got some black fruit elements, black plums, blackberries. I would say the components are not fully balanced. I say that there is a slight bit of alcohol taste on this that's a little bit out of balance, a little bit of acidity that's out of balance. The tannins are kind of medium right now, so I think it's drinking very well right now. I think that night I haven't looked at my previous video. I've rated it, I think 92 points because I was just euphoric. It was really nice. Today, if I'm now rating it again, I would say it's about 89 points. So let's split it, chop it, and let's say it's 90 points in my book. It's actually a pretty decent wine, 90 to 91 points. I actually quite enjoy the wine. I think people that probably don't give it a lot of credit because it does have a kind of a checkered history of ownership, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere in terms of directionally, but I'm just tasting it for myself, and I think it's a pretty good wine. Yeah, lots of fruit still. I think the tannins are very mellow right now. Acidity is slightly high. I would probably drink this up in the next 5 years. I actually don't think you need to decant this wine. I think it just, you pop and open it and you drink it for the first over a 3 or 4 hour period. It's lovely. I think it will be definitely over 90 points. So let's try it at 90, 91 points. Hope that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy drinking.